Happy Wednesday, wherever you are on this still incredible and phenomenal planet. All right. I switched up the track for the show today just so that we can get into a more upbeat mood. And today we're going to cover a discussion. And I already did a presentation earlier today. So this is not meant to go all in. Today, this is just for us to have a discussion and maybe clear the air. So no pun intended. I'm your host, Lisa Porto, creator and founder of many cool things that you can learn more and check out at lasuperagent.com. You are viewing and listening to Ready, Set, Real Estate, where we bring real estate news, guests, and even webinars on this platform. So thank you for all of you who've been subscribing. You're signed on, you're tuned in on Ready, Set, Real Estate. Thank you for your continued support. What else do I want to cover? Logistics. We do have a webinar. So I've been doing an entrepreneur webinar series over the last couple of days, having a lot of fun with that. So make sure you tune in tomorrow at 9 o'clock Pacific time, 12 Eastern, as we conclude our 4-part entrepreneur series tomorrow. And Saturday coming up, I bumped the time from 1 o'clock to 10 o'clock on Saturday. Look at my calendar, March 21st. I had to look at my calendar. Saturday, March 21st. We're going to be covering understanding appraisals. So stay tuned for that. That's happening on Saturday, March 21st, understanding appraisals. And I'll go ahead and drop the link in the comments in the chat below. All right. So, for those of you who are new to me, I am an active licensed California real estate professional in California active. And so I just got off a live webinar hosted by the legal team at CAR, at the trade organization here that I'm a member of. And it was interesting to hear some of the questions, some of the things that are being put into place so that those of us in real estate and those of us who are transacting real estate can kind of find some type of clarity, to gain clarity, to have some sense of normalcy amidst the storm of this COVID-19 pandemic. Again, this is a worldwide pandemic that is having government officials issue national and state emergencies, and even on the local level as well. And so I want to cover some of those things. Again, definitely check what the laws of the land of your state, of your city, of your township, so that you are, cooperating with kind of easing what's happening. And so what I found very interesting is that how quickly things are moving. So really, I was on the webinar, and so there's a new form that has been put into play. There's a new form put into play for transactions. So for those of you who are real estate brokers and agents, I'm sure you've gotten the email about the new form, the new addendum or amendment that you can use that is specifically for the coronavirus. So it does say it right there, coronavirus addendum and amendment. And you can see that this creates a space and a place for the buyer and the seller to come with alternative terms as to how they're going to handle their transaction as they may be impacted. What's really good to know, great to know, it's that it's not a required form to sign. If your transaction is going smoothly, like I have one that is going smoothly, we should be wrapping things up. I know it's a little frustrating because the county recorder's office those offices are closed, courts are closed, anywhere where people are congregating in 50 or more. There is the shelter in place order that, of course, is having this trickle effect with every single business for those who are don't fall under the essential business. And what was important for me to learn is, or really to see, is how quickly these agencies and organizations are responding to the changes. And that's really key right now. So to have a form now in place, especially because my client, we recently were in negotiation and we actually lost an opportunity to purchase a property because the seller was not comfortable with accepting my client's offer because there's the ifs, ands, or buts as it relates to loans and funding. And so that particular transaction, the seller decided to go with a cash offer. And so this is why I wanted to have this point of discussion, because you may be thinking about selling or buying in your market, and you may be feeling on edge about this. And so it's important that the good thing is, as real estate professionals, we do have access to now a new form that we can introduce into the transaction, or even before the transaction happens, as to how we are going to, how we're going to handle this. And so I think that at least creates a sense of clarity, will help put some people at ease. I think one of the important things also is, if you are financing a transaction, have a discussion with your lender. Have a discussion with how are they responding, what's their backload right now. I'm sure they've got a backlog of applications happening right now, especially because interest rates have been cut, and we'll slowly start to see the impact of the federal rates being cut for the banks, and also now the bank's reserves is now zero. And so, there's a stimulus happening to inject money into the economy. And as a matter of fact, I just read, about an hour ago or less, that the Senate has passed a bill to make sure that there is money being infused for self-employed and individuals that are families and individuals that are being impacted by COVID-19. And so the current administration has decided, President Trump has already agreed that he will be signing that bill into law. And so they are putting things in place so that there is some sense of let's continue. So the question I have for you, and feel free to call into the show if you have any comments and would just like to have a discussion. The thing that I invite you is, is this feeling like it's going to be longer than April? Are you feeling like, we'll kind of bounce back? What does the bounce back look like? And I think right now, I would definitely say have a discussion with your professionals and your team as to how it relates to your real estate transaction. Today, I think I want to give a couple of pointers as far as what's happening. So there is the rent moratorium that's been placed, where evictions are now on a halt for those who've been impacted, are being impacted by COVID-19. So evictions will not be processed. Foreclosures, the Federal Finance Housing Agency and HUD, they will not be processing foreclosures during this time and this window. So there's some leeway and there's some leniency that is being passed on to those people that are being impacted. And we were hearing utility companies, they are not going to cut off water and power as homeowners and renters, and we all are being impacted. So we see that, again, these agencies, the local, from government to top, all the way down, everyone is doing what they can to respond in a way, one, to create a sense of normalcy and to ease the anxiety. Of course, the increasing anxiety, health is one thing, but now to be concerned about income could only weaken your immune system in this time. If you're concerned about income, if you're concerned about, of course, supplies as it relates to food, I've been getting questions about that. What do you think about, will we have a food shortage, right? And so there's all these questions right now that, everyone is glued to their TVs. They're glued to the news. They're, listening and tuning into the radio for breaking news. And I can almost, we're going to have some sense of, we could have some sense of PSTD that will be triggered every time we hear breaking news. If we keep, there's, every time there's breaking news about something, there's something. And so I invite you to share in the comments below, or albeit, you call or you share in the comments below how you're creating a sense of normalcy. The way I am creating momentum and bringing folks along is I've offered the Entrepreneur Series. I mean, I literally opened up my schedule to do this and share, to help those who want to learn something new, not necessarily entrepreneurs, but I mean, if you're curious about something and curious about ways that you can create a novel product or introduce a new service or innovate something in this time, because what we see happen during these times is we see innovation. We see people innovate. We're innovating ways to be a solution and solve those pain points and inspire and create transformation. And so the Entrepreneur Webinar Series is my way that not only it has been benefiting me, because it gives me a way to come in and focus. It gives me something really to focus on, aside from the fact that some things, particularly my real estate transactions, are out of my control. I can negotiate and do my best, and then the rest really is, to greater than me. And so I've got to go with that flow. And at this time, it's releasing it, right? So releasing it, I'm learning to release it. All right. I do my best to negotiate. We're submitting offers, getting clients pre-qualified, pre-approved, my business is going on. And so as we get back on track, the question I have for you, especially as it relates to selling and buying real estate, is what is your position in terms of making your transition? Are you on the fence, or are you jumping off the fence? And what I see happening right now, especially a lot of buyers, they're jumping off the fence. They're going for it. They're saying, hey, I want to see what I'm pre-qualified for. Let's go through, getting pre-approved. And so that's a great thing, I think, because we need that. And it's the pandemic and the anxiety and the worry and the fear is what's creating the snowball effect, is because people are hoarding. Not only are you hoarding supplies, but now you're no longer infusing money into the system or into the economy, thereby quickly having this trickle down effect, right? Crippling effect. And so I encourage those of you who are buyers and considering, what your options are, feel free to reach out to your local professional, your real estate professional, someone you know, someone you can trust, someone you feel you can have a very candid conversation with about what job stability looks like within your industry. We know entertainment and restaurants and so forth are being heavily impacted right now. And of course, we will always see that healthcare will do just fine. So those in the healthcare industry and those who are within the industries of essential services that people need. And so I think it's a great point right now for you to have that discussion, have the open discussion, and have an open discussion around facts. I think that's the important thing. I always say or remind people, I don't work with speculative clients. So meaning people who just want to see, like, the people I serve tend to be people that need to transact a real estate scenario, right? Or have a real estate scenario that they need to transact. And so we do know that that still happens every single day. So I wanted to address that there have been some things as it relates to residential and commercial tenants. There is that moratorium on rents. That doesn't mean stop paying your rent. That means that if you are impacted, that there are some resources and there is a working plan putting into place so that you're not feeling the stress that you're going to be put out. And so if you're uncertain about what that looks like for your specific situation, I would implore you to make a phone call to the respective landlord, right? To the owners, the property managers, and find out, hey, what's my option? What's the plan? And for those of you who are landlords and owners, for you to be brushed up on what the current guidelines are as it relates to real estate. So very important for you to brush up on what's happening, so that you don't overstep and then you don't find yourself in some legal trouble or some craziness, as we're trying to create some sense of normalcy and getting people whole again. I think that's the important thing, is focusing on getting people whole again through this. All right. So with that being said, I wanted to make sure I addressed that there is the new amendment and addendum that is specifically for the COVID-19 as it relates to real estate transactions. So that's going to be a discussion you get to have with a real estate professional, and vice versa. You as a real estate professional, you can now introduce this as a point of discussion for your client to put them at ease, especially if they're a buyer. If they're a buyer and they're concerned about their deposit, what if? There's, of course, everyone has questions about what if. No one has a crystal ball. And so we see that this is definitely having a significant impact within the real estate community and industry, and especially those people who were planning to, you're deciding to sell your property to relocate. That creates a sense of anxiety and worry about, okay, I'm attempting to move in the middle of this pandemic, this world health crisis, right? This global health crisis. I'm attempting to move, but now, due to extended circumstances, unforeseeable events, my moving across another state or somewhere else, albeit by travel or moving trucks, and just having to do that is creating an impact. We do know that residents or individuals aged 65 and older have been asked to self-quarantine. And so if you are a homeowner, property owner who is considering selling your property, you may definitely now be reconsidering that. And I implore you to have that discussion with a professional to see what the game plan could be. How can you strategically make the moves that you were planning on making? And here's a question. I think this is the biggest concern, is value, pricing, appraisals, whether, where your property is valued at now as it relates to the next couple weeks and months, especially because we know interest rates are still low. Price and interest rates typically have we seen, but we haven't seen that in a long time, where there was this very weird relationship between pricing and interest rates that we had not seen historically, but they typically have an inverse relationship. And what does that mean? That if prices are up, interest rates are down. And then when interest rates trickle up, we see prices start to trickle down. And so as you start to understand the relationship between pricing and interest rates, supply and demand, and as it relates right now to a very finite period where, yes, some parts we are having still a seller's market where there's still multiple offers, and you have buyers that are still motivated to submit, is because they're counting on the competition to step out. They are counting on the competition to, feel very concerned. And sometimes that may happen, is that some people are going to pull out is because they may be impacted immediately with job loss, right? Or income, having laid off, or having to not work for the next couple weeks through the next couple months as the shelter in place is happening, the moratorium's happening. And so we see how this is starting to really impact not just the buyers, not just the businesses, but as in my arena, I'm saying in real estate, what that looks like, what that impact looks like. Transactions, we are asking that you now allow and be more flexible in time, allowing those transactions to close. And I think the question is always in our industry, how fast do you want to close? And so when you get a cash offer, it's not necessarily that it's a cash offer, it's still a wire transfer. And so how quickly do you want that wire transfer to happen? Because for a client who may be utilizing financing, conventional loans, that traditional form of financing, then that typically is a 21-day to a 3-week process, not including some who may be using city programs, which may be extended or may be completely impacted because those offices may be closed down, right? So that, of course, is how we see transactions come to a halt, may have to be canceled. And so again, if you're a real estate professional, definitely reach out to your legal team, your legal resources, seek legal counsel of how you can advise your client, and even and let your client know for them to also seek legal counsel as well during these times, as if they're in the middle of a transaction that is being impacted by this. So I made points of the addendum, the amendment, income loss potentially, how that is going to of course immediately impact those would-be buyers. And so those would-be buyers are now no longer participating in the market, and so we can start to see how pricing is going to start to have some bumps. It may not be this immediately decline, but we're going to start to see pricing may have some bumps in some pockets, in some areas. All right. So I wanted to just come on as Wednesday. It is still early in my day, but I'm going to conclude early today because I've got some stuff that I have planned. I've got some personal stuff that I've got to attend to. And so today we aired Ready, Set, Real Estate early. I want to say thank you all who have been continually supporting. And this has been really a great opportunity to have a space and a place for us to dialogue, for us to learn and exchange factual information and not speculation. And of course, not everyone will share my opinion, and that's perfectly fine. It's a place to have an open discussion and a healthy discussion. So with that being said, listen, you guys have a fantastic Wednesday. Be sure to take on those practices that will keep you safe, keep you and your family and your friends and loved ones healthy. And from my family to yours, continue blessing through this time and the next. And feel free, if you have any questions that you are concerned about as it relates to real estate, feel free to reach out directly. All right. Take care, you guys. Bye.